Good morning, everybody. So today I wanted to talk to you about something that's kind of paradoxical or kind of outside the norm. So kind of listen to what I have to say and take the meat and throw the bones if you must, because there's different types of people out there. So what I want to say is like when you wake up to narcissism, the first thing you want to do is of course you do not want to tell the narcissist. A lot of times we're empaths, so the first thing we want to do is help them. And we want to, now we can tell them what they are, and we can go get some help, or you can get them counseled or whatever, or you can counsel with them, whatever. This is typically the road that the empath will go down when they first wake up. It depends on how much they've already destroyed you. So this is what I found is kind of the most typical. They don't really talk about this online too much. They just say, don't tell them that you know. It's right. Don't tell them that you know. When you wake up to narcissism, you don't want to tell them, because if you tell them, then it does a lot of things. First of all, they're gonna not believe it anyway. If they're unaware, a lot of them are kind of unaware of the title matching them. Okay, they just know something's different about them, but they don't really, and they know they're crappy, and they treat people crappy, and they manipulate everybody, and they use people. But they don't really, know that they're a narcissist, because, they can't accept things like that anyway. And so my point is when you find out, it doesn't matter, because half of you probably won't believe me anyway, because when you wake up to this, you're like, it doesn't matter what anybody says, you're probably going to run to them and tell them they're a narcissist and you want to help them. That's typical. So even if people are out there telling you not to. But after that, don't tell them anymore. But anyway, they're kind of, you got to look at it like this. If you're not getting physically abused, a lot of us are men, so we're not going to get physically abused, because a woman's not going to beat a man. But these are the abusers, okay? Like physical abusers. So for a woman, it's much worse, and you guys got to be really careful. For the men, it could be more of a spiritual, psychological. it's all spiritual. But, it's worse for a woman, because the narcissist men they typically tend to get aggressive over time, and they say that the narcissist man is not afraid of beating women, but they're afraid of men. So that's kind of why to some degree they like to be with a Jezebel woman, because a Jezebel woman will post up against a man a lot of times, because they're kind of somewhat they're a little masculine, because they are heavily controlling, and a lot of times, even if they're with an overt narcissist and they're covert, it doesn't mean because the man is more aggressive of a narcissist that he's the one that is the higher narcissist or the greater narcissist and they're the lesser. It's usually the opposite. Like, it's kind of like, the little dog controlled the big dog. And so that's kind of like how this stuff would work. The greater narcissist a lot of times is the covert, and they're running the man when they're together anyway. Because I told you on your off time, they're going to be with a narcissist. But they won't marry a narcissist because they don't trust the narcissist, because the other narcissist, on both sides. But typically more that the men wouldn't trust the woman Jezebel, although men could be Jezebel too. So anyway, you don't want to tell them, because they're not going to believe you anyway. In fact, they're going to project it back onto you. No, you're the narcissist. This happens like all the time. And it's just textbook. And you want to kind of just not allude to anything, but what they're going to find out that something's different. If you don't say anything, eventually, real quick, they're going to find out that their main primary source of supply, the one that they've been getting fed from every day, 3 hots and a cot, right? Like I said, you're their Red Cross every day. So the problem is when that blood don't show up. So you could be living with them and not giving them fuel. And this is my point. When you wake up, you can't just leave. And if you do just leave, this is what I'm going to say. Sometimes it's bad when you wake up from a narcissist and you just leave. Because it makes you, it has the potential to make some people, quite a few people, like, it can make them unsuccessful about leaving. Like, they may leave in the initial, but then they may have a hard time staying away. And then when they come back, because the narcissist knows you're, you know who they are, then they block all of those ways, because you kind of have to sneak out of this, because you have to, that's my point, you got to look at this like this is a physically abusive relationship. And in a lot of ways for women it is, or can be. I'm sorry for that, but that's my point. And so when you get out of these relationships, a lot of times you have to set your ducks up in a row. Meaning, if you have children, if you have like finances, if you have cars and houses and credit cards and stuff like that, the best thing you could do is to learn to build boundaries in gray rock without saying anything. This is where they're going to find out and realize that real quick that something's changing. Because where they used to get ample fuel from you every day on a daily basis, now you're just not. Remember I told you that you got to detach emotionally. Your emotional fields where they hijack you. This is where the main piece of it comes from. And it starts by, in the love bomb, they gain your trust right away, and then they come in as a victim. And then they hijack, they get you emotionally attached to them, and they don't. They're not so much emotionally attached. They're fuel attached. They fiend for your fuel. And we have good fuel. Well, we have good fuel because we've been used to being a generator and pumping this out for our family all the time. And we can take the licks and keep on ticking, right? But most people like out there can't do that. And I'm not saying it's good. It's not good. The worst thing you could be is a primary source of supply. But for them, we're real good. I mean, but we're looking from the eyes of the abuser. So, I mean, that's crappy, right? So that's not what my point is you have really good fuel. It's not to gloat about it. It's not that, I mean, you'd rather have no fuel for them. And that's what we're trying to train up to be. No fuel for the narcissist. You want to emaciate the enemy. But when you wake up to them, sometimes when you leave right away and you don't set your ducks up in a row, like say you have some financial things, if you can on a covert level close up some of those accounts real quick before you move out, you won't get stuck with the whole bill. So, I mean, and it's not unfair. I mean, it would be both y'all's money. So these are things that you can work on. It would still be a vision, but this is what can happen. If you leave right away, it's kind of like somebody doesn't become addicted to something, right? Overnight. It happens over time. And this is where you can have unsuccess, is where you did not get addicted to the narcissist like overnight. I mean, it is pretty quick, but let's look at like an alcoholic. They would have to drink for years and years to become an alcoholic, right? And it became a certain way. But if they were to quit cold turkey, a lot of times they can have a seizure, or they could go right back to it and go full on again, or get worse, or whatever, or just be unsuccessful. So in the case of the narcissist, I think it's smart to take time, gray rock. You're learning to build boundaries anyway. And, a lot of times you have houses and finances with them. Try to close up those, as many financial things that you have connected with them. Don't open any other new financial things, and focus on paying off those debts that you have that are jointly, if you can. And, learn to gray rock. But when you gray rock, what they're going to notice is they can't get your fuel anymore. It's going to be like they're going to try to spark you up. Now, when you detach emotionally, it's like when you say that the narcissist is trying to bait me in to steal my energy. You got to look at it like a game. If you look at it like a game and they're just trying to play you, they're playing a game with you and they're trying to play you into something, but they don't love you. They hate you. So if you look at it like that, it's much easier for you to detach emotionally. You've been playing me all these years. I'm not going to let you play me anymore, but I'm not going to tell you either. I'm just going to play your game. And in a way, if you're angry, this is, a way of getting some of that steam off anyway. But it'll also teach you how to gray rock and things like that. That way, when they try to get you to react and to open up like a clam so that they can switch fuel with you, their negative energy for yours, your pure good energy, then it won't be able to happen. So what's going to happen is it's almost going to be like that they're in a house with a primary source of supply, but they can't get any fuel from them. So they're going to be kind of like getting emaciated. So what's going to happen is they're going to go out and about, and they may have smeared your name and stuff, but when they go out and about every day, they're going to be like having to flip that crap on everybody else, or they're going to end up cheating on you, whatever. But I personally think that to some degree, it's good to almost like wean off of the narcissist that way. If you're already in a relationship with them and everything, and you've been doing it for years, because sometimes when you leave them cold turkey, you can like get these high addiction spikes for them because you're so used to it, and then it won't be there, and then you have the chance of going right back to them. And then sometimes when you go right back to them, if you've did some sneaky things to get out of the relationship because they are physically abusive, or they will get you caught up in all kind of messes and take all the money out of the account and stuff like that. So you might have to act a little sneaky at the very end so that you can get just your fair share. Not like you're trying to get over on nobody, but they're never fair. When you do that and then you go back to them, they already know the tactics that you were going to use. You already used them. So they're going to block all those out. For instance, if you started to, and that's the thing, if you're unworking homemaker, you need to start getting a job. So this is stuff that you could be working on while you're peeling away from the narcissist, because you want to wean off of them. I mean, as quick as you can, but sometimes, like I said, an alcoholic doesn't start overnight, nor is it good sometimes for you. Is it successful for someone to wean off cold turkey? I mean, a lot of people can do that, but a lot of people can't. So just hear me out, y'all. This is something that, to some people, this is a good tactic. But you have to weigh your options and talk to clinicians or whoever you think is professional, because I'm not a professional individual in narcissism. I mean, I don't want, to counsel you down the wrong way, but I'm throwing it out there because I've been with so many of them, and I know how this kind of stuff works, that, from enmeshment to having several long-term relationships with them, that if they find out you're leaving, man, they're going to sabotage everything. So you want to be careful. You want to line those ducks up in a row, and you got to leave almost like a lot of times, depending on how bad they are and how destructive or physically abusive they are, or how much, you think that they're going to threaten you. They usually will threaten you by finances and sabotage just everything and make it unsuccessful. And the worst thing you could do is to leave after, this is like a real deal leave, when you're leaving the home and you've been with them for 15 years or something, and then have to come back and then try to leave again. So I just want to throw that out there. Listen, I know a lot of people are going to have bad things to say about this, but this is just from my heart. This is what I believe in. In maybe a quarter of the cases, at least, this is a better idea than just, leaving right away. And so it depends on what type of narcissist you're with. I mean, if they're physically abusive or not. Or if you're with a borderline. A borderline is probably the lower end of the cluster B situation. So it just depends. But you should be able to tell, gauge, how threatening they are from your life with them thus far. So they will try to leave you out of house and home with nothing if they can plan this, or they know this is going to happen. So you don't want to have to leave and then come back. We're not talking about somebody who's just dating a narcissist. We're talking about somebody who has kids, or they have been in a relationship and they have a house and a car and all kind of stuff. You want to just think about it and just throwing it out there. Y'all let me know in the comments. Be easy on me, because I know this is going to be one where people are like, just have faith, you know, God will take care of you. He will, but in some cases this is not always the way out. Sometimes you it's good for you to kind of like, you know, get comfortable, you know, for a couple of months, like weaning off of the narcissist in the home. You got to line some things up anyway to get out of there the right way. But you don't want to leave and have to come back. That's my point. Because you are desperate for them. You want to know that when you leave, it's successful. And you will never go back. That you will be able to handle it. Because when you leave, it's like pulling a Band-Aid off a wound that's unhealed. You may think that it's going to be easy, and then it can get more and more difficult, and your emotions, and you know, you need to just keep in mind, I'm not saying that you're not strong enough to do it. I'm just saying for some, it's a good idea to, you know, kind of work on it over several months. That's all. So peace out. Give me a like, subscription, thumbs up. Love y'all. We out.